They say sports are about passion, glory, and the thrill of victory. But what if I told you that behind the cheers, behind the stadium lights, and behind every athlete's smile, there are stories so dark, so heartbreaking, that the world refuses to talk about them? Tonight, we're opening the door to those stories. From the frozen silence of a deadly winter race, to the echoing roar of a stadium where celebration turned into terror, to a single athlete taking one last breath, while millions watched live. These aren't just tragedies. These are the worst deaths in every sport, and the hidden lessons they left behind. Stay with me till the end, because the final story will change the way you see sports forever. The snowstorm had rolled in fast, too fast. Winds howled across the mountain ridge like a living creature, swallowing flags, signs, and even the sound of the announcer calling out numbers. But the athletes didn't stop. They couldn't. The Winter Cross Endurance Race was not just a competition. It was a dream carved into their bones. Among the racers was Elias Dorn, a 24-year-old skier whose life had been defined by struggle. He grew up in a small farming village where winters were brutal, food was scarce, and the only escape he had was the slope behind his house. His old, splintered wooden skis were a joke to others, but to him, they were wings. This race was everything to him. Sponsors were watching. Scouts were watching. And his mother, sitting in a hospital bed after her third surgery, was waiting for the moment she could finally see her son rise. As Elias pushed through the blinding snow, his lungs burned, and his legs trembled, but he smiled, because he was leading. But the storm grew worse. Markers disappeared. The course twisted into confusion. Then came the moment that changed everything. At checkpoint 7, the cameras caught a flash of Elias, his head down, pushing against the wind. But instead of turning left, towards safety, he drifted right, straight into the unmonitored wilderness. He didn't know he was off course. The world didn't know either, not yet. Hours later, search teams scrambled. Drones scanned the mountains. Helicopters circled, their spotlights cutting through the storm like knives. But by then, Elias was deep inside nature's trap, a maze of cliffs, dead drops, and frozen silence. When they found him the next morning, he was curled beside a fallen tree, arms wrapped around himself like he was trying to sleep. His face was peaceful. He hadn't crashed. He hadn't fallen. The cold had simply taken him. The world mourned. His mother cried not with anger, but with pride. He died chasing the life he wanted. She whispered, "Not the one we were forced to live." The tragedy forced race officials to change the entire sport. New safety rules, new monitoring tech, and storms now mean automatic cancellation. Elias didn't survive, but he saved countless others. And that is the legacy of those who die chasing their dream. They leave behind a safer road for those who come after. Football nights were supposed to be loud, explosive, electric. But on that night in Brazil, in a stadium packed with 50,000 cheering fans, something happened that the world still struggles to believe. The rivalry match between Norte FC and Estrela Azul had been hyped for months. The players were warriors, the fans were fire, and the energy was so thick it vibrated through the metal barricades. But for one player, Rafael Junqueira, this match meant more than rivalry. His daughter, Sofia, only 7 years old, had been battling leukemia for 2 long years. He had promised her he would score a goal that shakes the sky. She said she would watch from home, wrapped in a blanket, holding her stuffed penguin. Rafael entered the field with tears already in his eyes. The match started with chaos, fast passes, brutal tackles, fans roaring like a storm. But Rafael played like he was carrying a piece of heaven with him. In the 73rd minute, he got his chance. A clean breakaway. Nothing but the keeper ahead. He shot. He scored. The stadium exploded with noise. Rafael dropped to his knees, pointing to the sky, crying, "For you, Minha Filha!" But seconds later, the cheering stopped. Rafael collapsed. The cameras zoomed in. His teammates rushed. The crowd fell into a choking silence as medics sprinted across the field. The TV commentary cut to static. Millions watching at home stared in confusion. His heart had stopped. He never got back up. The world froze. His teammates sobbed openly. Even rival fans lit candles outside the stadium. His daughter, watching from the hospital bed, whispered, "Papa scored for me." Every sports league on earth reviewed its medical protocols after that day. Sudden cardio screenings became mandatory. On-field defibrillator units were upgraded. Medical staff doubled. Raphael's last act wasn't scoring a goal. It was showing the world how fragile life can be, even in the body of a hero, and how love can push a man to give everything he has, even his final heartbeat.